Hey guys, so I am out on the Sawyer Camp Trail, which is in Millbrae, California, and it's right near my house. It's like maybe 10 minutes away, and climbing up a hill, so pardon me. And I think it's like a good thing to have places nearby your house to go paint. I haven't been out here in many years, so I can't even remember if there's anything worth painting, but I'm all loaded up and I'm looking around. This is the view over the edge of the trail, just like a tangle of oak trees. And out in the distance, there's a reservoir, but you can't quite see it through the trees. All right, so this is a cool view. I like that poplar tree, and then how you can see in the distance, but this is all gonna be in shadow pretty soon, so I'm gonna look for something else. All right, so I've walked about a mile, and to be honest, I'm kind of surprised at what I've found. I've never been out here before, even though it's like really close to my house. Like, I had no idea you could get this close to Crystal Springs Reservoir, but I'm gonna have to make a decision quickly because the sun is gonna disappear behind a hill pretty soon, so time to make a decision. Alright, so a brief fun fact here. I'm standing on the San Andreas fault line, which is the fault line that was responsible for the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, and I will show you. Alright, so this reservoir used to be a valley, and then they flooded it, but the valley sort of traces the line of the San Andreas fault. Alright, so I'm all set up and ready to go. Let me show you what I'm looking at. Okay, so there's the view I'm looking at, and I'll just see what I can do. Okay, so I sketched in my composition using burnt sienna as usual, and let me show you what I got. All right, so working really fast, just kind of mapping things out. Obviously, we've got the water here. This is sort of the reflections of the trees, some hills in the background. And then I've got some large trees that are in the foreground here. Because I don't want the eye just going off to the edge. There's also another tree in this area that's in the foreground that's blocking the eye from going off the edge to the right. We'll see if it works. Okay, so I'm using a mixture of ultramarine and alizarin crimson, and I'm just laying in my darks, establishing where they are because the sun is about to go behind a hill.
Yeah,
Hi.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was able to work for about an hour before the sun went behind the hill. Light's not so good for showing you the painting now, so let's go back to the studio and we'll take a look. It's amazing how fast the temperature drops once the sun goes down. It was like really warm, probably maybe around 70. It feels like it's like in the 40s now. All right, so this is a 16 by 20 inch panel, and as I mentioned, it's about an hour's worth of work. And I decided on a C-shaped composition here. And there's certain things I did to accentuate the composition. As you guys know, I feel like composition is king, so that's always my primary focus. Normally I would lighten the mountains in the background, but again, it helps to guide the eye in this direction. I like that there's a strong contrast between the water and the hills here. Yeah, as I mentioned, I oftentimes will cool down and lighten up mountains or trees that are in the distance to push them back, but in this case I left them as I saw them. There was this tree over on the side here. I decided to include it to keep the eye from running off the left-hand side of the canvas. And then, but the tree in reality was just a solid mass. If I had left it a solid mass, it just would have felt too heavy, drawn too much attention. So I opened it up so you could see some branches and kept it a little more airy. It's nice to be able to see the water through there, and like I said, less dense, less heavy, and didn't, and therefore doesn't draw as much attention. Keeps the focus in this direction here. This tree also does the same thing. It just keeps the eye from running off along the shoreline here, and keeps the focus in this direction. So this is the least defined portion of the painting. I just ran out of time, but I'm going to do some touch-ups, but I'm not going to do a lot of detail. I don't want to draw attention to that. Again, I just want it to keep the eye from running off, but I want it to be almost overlooked. Other things I might change. I like this little pop of red here, but I think it should be echoed in other areas, possibly on this shrub here, maybe in the tree. I'll have to experiment with that. I like the reflections. I think that's kind of nice. Also kind of makes this blue path here a little more irregular, which I like. This line along the shoreline, I like these shadows here. There's a lot of transparency. This is that scrub in with alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. I like having areas of transparency where you can see the panel through. Creates like a nice feeling of luminosity. There's some of that in the sky. That's just a light scrub in of white and ultramarine. You can actually see the panel through the brushwork. And the only other thing that I'm not sure about this shoreline here, how it's a straight line. Sometimes I look at it and I think, oh, you know what, it doesn't bother me. And other times I think, oh, maybe I'll change it. So I'll just have to live with it for a week or so and see how I feel. All right, so lately I've been finding it helpful to take a few moments before I get started painting to kind of think the painting through, anticipate any problems. Used to be that I would just, show up, pick something and get started, but I am trying to really slow down and think before I paint, and I think it really helps. So anyway, as usual, thanks for coming along on the journey, guys, and let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.